Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
Yo, what's good? What's good? Welcome back to First Cut Live. This is the show where we talk about all the movie news that has been out this week. Joining me, as always, this week, I have my starting lineup, my all-star crew, starting with my unicorn, my 7-footer, my shot blocker, my Rudy Gobert, my French player from International Affairs. It's Sabrina Ramirez. What's up, yo?
Those intros, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I love it nonetheless. I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here again on this Thursday. Happy, RB3's making a face. Are there technical difficulties?
Yo. Oh, we can't even hear him. We back at it again.
Sorry, no, my bad. No, I was gonna say my laptop almost fell off my desk. It was not technical.
All
it was
good?
just like
okay.
It was a practical oopsie, you know, like that was all.
Speaking of which, we have our MVP, our also shot blocker, our 3-point shooter. Post game is unstoppable. Mid-range in the game. RB3 in the house. What's up, bro?
Hey, I'm Steph Curry cooking, y'all. Steph Curry cooking. That's what's going on in the crib. What's going on? It's a long day, long week, but we back for the First Cut Live. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm gonna have to be like Pacino on some like Coke. Hey, come on. Let's go. Wake up. You know what I mean? Like,
you gotta be a Stephen A. Smith.
yeah.
Now let me tell you something.
Yeah.
They told me he's a very, very good friend. I can't do Stephen A, bro.
I gotta figure out. I could do Shannon Sharp. Hey, come on, Skip. We can do better than that, Skip. Come on, LeBron James, the best player of all time. Skip, go.
All right,
let's go.
Do Paul Pierce.
Oh, Paul Pierce. Hey, buddy, models everywhere. Buddy everywhere.
F's in the chat.
I have to learn about basketball.
F's in the chat for Paul Pierce. F's in the chat.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right. R.I.P. to Paul Pierce.
Shout out to my guy.
A legend is put to rest. A legend has been put to rest at ESPN.
Fired, canceled by ESPN. No, I'm not gonna say that. It's funny because I told my mom this. No, I'm not gonna. No. I'm never gonna use the word cancel ever in my entire life. But my mom was like, did ESPN cancel Paul Pierce? I was like, no, mom, you can't. You can't.
There's a difference.
You can't have a Disney contract and be on Instagram Live smoking blunts and having strippers. And, yeah, you can't do it. You just can't do it.
I think you
just can't do it.
I can't believe I'm the guy who's on Team Paul Pierce. But I guess for anyone who doesn't know basketball news and basketball drama, Sabrina, this guy who works at ESPN,
former NBA champion,
Boston Celtic, walking meme, Paul Pierce. He got fired because he had like strippers at his house and he was like super high on IG Live.
Yeah, smoking a blunt, got some strippers going.
Yeah, he's just living his best life though.
That's what I said. What's wrong with
just strippers and a blunt?
Yeah. They're like getting paid. They're being safe. He's not driving anywhere. He's not like, I don't know.
They're playing poker. Look like they're playing poker in the background. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, strip clubs are legal. Strip clubs are normal. It's all valid. He's not doing anything completely against the law. It's not
RB3's out here saying no.
I don't know.
Well, no, I mean,
RB3 said y'all should have fired him.
No, you can't work for Disney. You gotta at least think about that, Paul Pierce. You know, we think of ESPN. We think it's a different company. Nah, it's the same. It's the same mouse house. Same mouse house. They're not letting. You think they're gonna let anybody? The only people who they're gonna let get away with that are like the rappers that they bring in, like Kendrick. But Kendrick Lamar don't even do like that kind of stuff. So you can't.
That's not a real. Yeah, he's not an actual analyst.
Yeah, or I don't know. I mean, I don't really think there's any examples. Like, I don't think there's too many examples of people they're just gonna let willy nilly, tarnish their brand like that. So
I promise I'll get off this subject real quick, Sabrina. But have you seen that Paul Pierce interview moment, analyst moment, where he's like ranting at the 76ers? This was like 3 weeks ago. And he's like, the 76ers are trash. Ben Simmons can't do anything without Joel. I can't believe they lost this game against Detroit. They're terrible. And then they're like, Paul, the 76ers won by 20 points and Ben Simmons scored 30. And he's like, oh, Okay, my bad. And everyone was like, what did he just see? He didn't even see the game. He just made up this story in his head where the 76ers like were playing bad. I thought they fired him because of that. That would be fireable to me.
Yeah. I mean,
more than this,
he just doesn't care. I mean, if dude doesn't care, and that just shows, and he gave it all away for 315 people who watched this live. That's the funniest part.
That's pretty bad.
Only 315. Like, dang, I probably could have pulled in like half those numbers. You know what I mean? Like,
speaking of booty, let's go to movie news.
Yeah.
I'm just playing, guys. That's no transition.
There's booty because there's no news. Like, what's news? What's the news?
I think there's big news. I think the news coming out of Netflix is pretty big, guys. So let's start there because I really do feel like the whole.
You think that's big news? I don't know. Yeah. I don't think that's big news. If I'm being real,
if you tell me, and if you tell how many billions of Netflix users there are, how many people we have, well, not billion, but there's almost like
there's a lot,
cajillion Netflix users out there in the world. That if you wait 2 months, you could see the movie on Netflix for free instead of going out to the movie theater. You don't think that's big news? For anyone who doesn't know, Sony gave the rights to streaming to Netflix for $1 billion. Speaking of $1 billion, they paid up the $1 billion. So instead of the direct to DVD or instead of the direct to their own streaming platform, because Sony doesn't have one, Sony decided to give those rights to Netflix. So essentially, I could just wait 2 months or 2.5 months and see one of the Sony I could see Morbius 2.5 months after it comes out for free on Netflix instead of going out to the movie theater. I think that's kind of a big deal. I think a lot of people are going to be like, I'm not going to pay to go see the movie. I'll wait till Netflix.
I'm on the same page as RB3, I think.
Yeah, let me tell you why.
Bro,
because let me tell you why.
Always tripping about this.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why this isn't a big deal, right? Because the exact same thing happens if you have Stars. The exact same thing. Stars has had an exclusive contract with Sony for the past 20 years, 30 years. I remember since I was a kid, I knew, like even before I knew about movies, I knew Spider-Man was going to be on Stars. They're bigger than Stars. So this move doesn't surprise me that they eclipsed.
Tell me
they've wasted
the amount of people who have Stars and tell me the amount of people who have Netflix.
Exactly.
And I can tell you the difference.
And if you ask me, Sony undersold. Sony undersold. That's the big scandal in this. If anything, Sony should have ponied up. If anything, Sony should have had Netflix pony up $3 billion, in my opinion, for those kind of rights. Because at this point, Netflix is the biggest streaming platform. There's no other competition. They're taking the Paramount. Paramount has, largely invested in Netflix in the sense that they've given, a lot of their films to their platform. But ultimately, what appears that this is happening, this appears to be a pathway to Sony creating their own streaming platform later on down the line. Because what happens? Disney had that cycle where they signed the exclusive contract with Netflix from like 2017 to like 2020. And you remember all the new Disney films are going straight to Netflix. Then they took all the algorithms and the numbers that they have from there and decided, hey, we'll just put this on our own platform. We'll just do our own thing. Same thing happened with Paramount. They merged and they took all this stuff back. But
then it's a whole new story.
But I don't know if Sony. But see, that's the thing though. Sony has so much more than just a movies. It's all technology. It's televisions, it's refrigerators, it's literally so much stuff.
They have a lot of money.
They're trying to invent their own technology. What this appears for me to be is Netflix, is them using this Netflix model the same way that Paramount did it, the same way that Disney did it, and just filter their stuff through Netflix, figure out how many people are watching their stuff and streaming their stuff, and they're just taking advantage of that, and then using that to build their own platform and their own idea. So I don't put too much stock in this. I don't think this is going to be a big long-term thing. I just think this is, that's another phase in the win for Netflix. They're gonna next and I'm sure whatever other studio. I don't know which ones are left out of the big five or big six or whatever, but I'm sure the next studio is gonna have that same contract in like 2024 or 2025 or something. So that's why I personally don't think it's the biggest deal.
I kind of I'm on the same page as RB3. I don't agree with the fact that people would wait about 2 months for films like Jumanji and Morbius. Maybe some people. Jumanji was a hit. Jumanji was a
Yeah.
hit, and by
That's
2022,
true.
I do believe people are gonna finally be comfortable by that point. I really do think so. So I think people are gonna flock to see something like a Jumanji, especially because obviously that's open for kids. Parents can enjoy it. I feel like there's a wide demographic for something like Jumanji. And Morbius, I don't want to see that movie. I don't want to see Morbius. I am just over that. I don't know. I'm just over it. Nothing I've seen from that excites me in any way, shape, or form. I keep forgetting it exists, and then I'm reminded, and I'm like haunted for like 30 minutes. That's kind of where my mindset is on Morbius. I have no idea how that's going to do. I don't expect it to be a great film. So that one's a little bit different. But when you talk about the Jumanjis and films like that, I do believe people are going to flock out to see those. And it is interesting. But like 2 months is a long wait. It's not like it's 2 weeks. It's not like it's 1 week or whatever. It's their whole theatrical run. I feel like a lot of people are still going to see these in theaters. And I mean, they got big money coming from Netflix. And I agree with RB3 where they should have had like something more like 3 billion, but it is what it is.
Can I be honest with you guys? What was the last big or cool Sony movie? Maybe besides Into the Spider-Verse.
Then that's also
and
that was gonna
Spider-Man.
Well, that's also that was gonna be my next point. Like, what does Sony have down the pike? Like,
nothing.
You're saying Morbius. Sabrina saying she don't care about Morbius. I know you don't care about Morbius. I know you don't care about Venom too.
That's what I'm saying. Like
no,
nobody cares about people.
Am I the
People
only one
might
who
care
feels
about
like Sony's overhyped. Like, you're right. They do make technology, and that's where they make their money. But like original property wise or IP wise, like.
Well, they do have a lot of Sony Television is a very big place, very big production company, and they have a lot of IP there that is taken across a lot of different companies. But part of the reason why they have Sony Television, why they don't have their own network like Fox does or Disney does or anything like that, is because they're
Joseph
not.
Weeks in the chat says Bloodshot 2. My point is exactly.
No. Uncharted.
Bloodshot.
Yeah, Uncharted is in there. But yeah, they
Go ahead.
What was I saying? What was he talking about? Oh.
Sorry, I interrupted.
I lost my. I totally lost my train of thought. But it doesn't matter. But I think what I was getting to is that like with Netflix having like this abundant amount of cash, this abundant amount of like spending opportunity, and seeing the window streaking as it already is, we're already seeing like the whole like day and date concept have being tested with and already kind of like being shown to be successful. So the window is like shrinking like rapidly, like more and more every single day. But I think I think investing in more of like these big name like studios and these big name like quote unquote IPs is kind of their way to kind of get into the eventual theatrical market. Because look at what Amazon is doing, right? Amazon before it was like a mega corporation that it is now, it was just a book website, right? And then they ended up becoming so big as just from selling books that they ended up taking over the world and shut down every other bookstore. And now they're opening their own physical bookstores and their own brick and mortars, you know? So I could totally see that
probably going to be Amazon theaters in the future.
And, you know, and I see with their huge investments in like the Knives Out, I see with, you know, they're already playing with filmmakers like Scorsese and Fincher. Like they really trying to make that jump into the big theatrical leap. And I think eventually, you know, they're already investing in buying theaters too. I think that's ultimately their goal. I think ultimately they're trying to submit themselves as the top studio.
Is it not?
I mean,
I think that's counterintuitive.
I think honestly for the time being, it's a good idea for Netflix because there is going to be that small group of people that aren't going to want to see something like a Morbius in theaters. Or maybe wants to rewatch it. Like after 2 months, you get to watch it immediately before it's released on like DVD or anything like that. That's like a nice little draw to it as well.
Yeah.
We had JJ in the chat saying the last good Sony movie they saw was Little Women. I agree.
Yeah. Well, no, but I was going to say that.
I would love to see Little Women in theater. Yeah, Little Women in theaters. Yeah. And then 2 months later being able to check it out. I remember waiting for so long to be able to rewatch Little Women because I wasn't going to see it in theaters again. But yeah, so I think it's a win-win for people who do want to see these in theaters. It's still releasing in theaters, but then soon after they can either rewatch it or watch it for the first time, just if you're like not comfortable or if you're not a theater person, if you have a good system at home. I think it's pretty big for Netflix.
I think it is too, and I don't. Can I counter your point, RB3?
What's up?
With something else? if we're like in a meeting, like let's say we're both Netflix bros, and we're sitting
I love being
down, and
Netflix bros.
and you told me like, hey man, theater is the next step. And I would say, hey man, our whole business model is enjoy a good movie at home, streaming movies, watch our movie in the comfort of your living room. That is our platform. That is our message. That's how we made all this crap ton of money that we currently have. What if I counter your theater point and I just take it times 100? What's bigger than like anything else? And it's what you did the other day. And I really do feel like that's the future where Netflix is trying to go. And I've read an article that that's actually where they're trying to do, is that they're trying not to do theaters. They're trying to do experiences. They're trying to do almost theme parks, like rides and crap, where you can do the Stranger Things tour, right? You could talk a little bit about that if you want to. But stuff like that, to me, like imagine that like in all over the country, or imagine like an actual like IP Stranger Things setup that is, I don't know, that takes over malls or something, like outdated malls, like something like that, where it's not a movie, but like an experience, or like a theme park ride, or like a, I don't know, like, you know, like those 3D goggles, like crap that we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
I think that is a better step than necessarily theaters, because I still think our pitch is still like, watch this at home, but you could still go and do the Stranger Things ride or the Stranger Things experience. I think that's a cool concept, right?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think they invested in all of that. I think their ultimate goal is world domination. You know what I mean? I think they're trying to take over the entertainment world. I think they're trying to be the number one studio of all time. And I mean, they're pretty doggone close. I mean, I don't think any studio has gotten to a point like to where Netflix has gotten to, mostly because it's not just about making the movies. It's about the technology. It's about the analytics. It's about people, literally like the psychology of measuring people's data and how much they watch certain shows. Like that's all valuable information in and of itself. Like that's proprietary information that Sony is looking for, that Sony is looking to try and develop for themselves to see how this model is going to work for their own. Because also too, I mean, remember this, like only Warner Brothers is really the only company that's had the privilege of like doing it all in house, because they had, you know, they had HBO and they had HBO Go, you know, to do their whole direct to streaming thing, like, you know, to test that out before they had HBO Max, right? So they had a little more time. But beyond that, like I said, Disney ran through Netflix, Paramount runs through Netflix. We even saw A24 have exclusive deals with first Amazon Prime and now Apple TV. So studios partnering with streaming services is not necessarily like the newest thing, but seeing it on this big of a scale is interesting.
I agree with that for sure. I just feel like Netflix is, like you even said it, they're just so much bigger and better than everyone else that I think it is a big deal when Netflix takes over your movies, even if it is going to be several months later. I still think it's like, that's a lot of users who have Netflix who might be like, you know what? I got Netflix, bro. I can wait. I can wait to see Morbius. I don't want to see Jared Leto right now. I can see Jared Leto in a couple months.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
I
just think there's a lot of people who use Netflix. So.
Well, you know, I do think though, I mean, I am curious to see how like the box office performance is, because so far what we're seeing with Godzilla versus King Kong, like even with the pandemic like shutdown thing, it's still doing phenomenal box office, even with the day and date thing. So I don't know how much of an impact, if people are still looking for that theatrical experience. Part of me wonders if like having the streaming so close to the theatrical release just means like more viewership is just going to happen overall. Is it going to lead to like less piracy and like less all this stuff? I don't know if it's going to take the same kind of hit on the box office as we're all like thinking it will, you know, just based on what we're seeing so far at King Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, for reference, Sabrina, I did read an article where they were saying that Netflix was currently on the hunt for like their own like experience, or almost theme park experience. And that's why I'm mixing up my years, guys. 2 years ago, when they had the Stranger Things maze at Universal Halloween Horror Nights. I don't know if you guys did that, but that was a big deal, right? And a lot of people went, and a lot of people wanted to go to the Stranger Things maze so they could face off with the Demogorgon and hang out with 11.
Great.
But that's kind of what they're aiming for. What do you think of that strategy that they currently have, because you guys both did the Stranger Things experience. I'm the only one
Yeah.
on First Cut who has it, and I want to.
Yeah.
No, I remember we actually talked about it because I got my tickets last minute. A friend just wasn't able to make it. So I thought it was the coolest thing, honestly. Like it exceeded my expectations. They mixed like really great performances and theatrics, just music and setting to really immerse us into that experience. And I think they have a knack for it with something like Stranger Things. I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know if they're going to do like Stranger Things in like 5 years. You know, they got to find something new at that point.
do.
So if you want to create those experiences, I know like Bridgerton is super cool. Like if they did like a pop-up shop, honestly, so I haven't seen Bridgerton, but people love it. If they did like a pop-up shop of like a tea place, with like
That's
food
cool.
and different things like that,
Yeah.
there's so many different avenues they could go with depending on what they're working with. So Stranger Things with this one, Bridgerton with that, who knows what going forward. So it's totally possible because people get so attached because it's so easy to watch. Something like Bridgerton takes 2 clicks, you get hooked by it.
That's my thing. Like, it's funny because you're right. There's Bridgerton. There's what was the other show you mentioned?
Stranger
There
Things.
was like Emily in Paris.
I mean, there's a
Stranger
bunch of shows. I mean, they
Things.
haven't
There's a
done
lot.
a niche shows.
You know what's funny, guys, is like, you're right. But I think I gave you guys that article a couple months ago. I don't know if you guys remember, the VP of production, who said that he's cool with like all these like shows and stuff, but he really wants a 4-quadrant super IP. Remember when we did that episode, the Netflix pitch episode?
Yeah, that's good.
And we were pitching our 4-quadrant. Like he said Harry Potter and Star Wars were his 2 examples of what he wanted, as far as like kids, aim for kids, but also adults can enjoy it kind of thing. And it has all 4 quadrants there. They thought they had that RB3 with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like,
Plus.
probably not going to happen anymore. Netflix really did imagine, like, if we get this rights for Avatar, we make this show, it's awesome, and there's going to be freaking theme parks, there's going to be like Korra shirts, there's going to be like, what nation are you? I'm Fire Nation, I'm Earth. They thought they were going to resurrect that franchise.
As somebody who hasn't really watched every single thing, I did watch it when it was on Nickelodeon a little bit.
Yeah.
I just don't know if Avatar would be like capable of something like that, like a phenomenon like this. I know it's huge. I know a lot of people love it, but I don't think it's capable of a Star Wars or anything like that.
I absolutely think it. RB3 can back
How
me
much
up
can
on
you
this.
possibly explore in it?
You've
I
seen
also think Star Wars
a
is
lot.
I think there is a
because
lot
that's the
you
thing,
could
it's
explore.
like-
from
There's
it.
a lot.
I'm not gonna lie.
It is one of the best franchises I've ever seen in anything and anything.
You're biased.
At all. No,
Love it.
RB3. RB3's not a big fan, and he saw Legend of Korra and he was blown away.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Okay, you say I'm not a big fan.
You were crying at the end of Legend of Korra.
For one, I am a big fan of Legend of
Bro, you texted me crying.
No, for one, I am a fan of Avatar: Last Airbender. I'm a huge fan. That was literally my favorite show as a kid.
Yeah, but you didn't see, like, you weren't watching Korra as it was airing.
No, I didn't. No. Just because I just didn't. I wasn't watching cartoons at that time. You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
you went back and watched it, and you were blown away.
It was beautiful, and I think
it is the kind of IP that can really like bring the world to its knees. I think it can. I just think it needs the right hands.
Yes,
and people are so like precious about it that they don't let it flow.
I think you're right. It does need the right hands. I also think there's a huge thing. There's a huge like kind of, I don't know, like. You kind of need to put a lot of money into this. Like it wouldn't be a good property if you didn't put it. And we saw the example of when they put a lot of money in. They put, you know, even though the 2010 Last Airbender movie was a big budget movie, relatively, it was like what, like $150 million budget or something like that. Crazy big budget. It still didn't even look that good. Like this is a really great concept that I'm sure is going to be really, really hard to make it like look good and to have it, you know, just to make it to make a transition. But I do think you I have fallen into the Legend of Korra like rabbit hole, and there I have gotten into all the little side YouTube channels that are like, what can happen next? What's the next show? And they have like all these like they have like the top 10 like ideas of like what the spinoff shows are gonna be.
I know who you're talking about.
And I'm just loving all of them. I'm like, oh man, I'm just eating this up. It's a black dude. You know what I'm talking about?
Best? Yeah, I know that guy. That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Who's the best Earthbender? Who's the best Firebender?
Yeah.
Who would win in a fight between Mako and Zuko? Like, bro, that's the kind of stuff. Like, that would be huge, man. I really do feel like people would be like, yo, metal bending and crazy. Like, you could be like Magneto, and you could have Toph.
Star Wars has just like lasted for like generations, and it just keeps being passed down, and they're exploring all these different avenues. Something like this, I think, was huge, but it wasn't the same like phenomenon. Like it's just not the same phenomenon as Star Wars. Nothing is. It's going to be impossible to almost try to even emulate anything like that and come up with some original idea, because that's what makes it special. And also I think like having really passionate fans and doing spin-off shows or having people do different shows and different things, they are so passionate that it's almost like half gatekeeping and half wanting like perfection. So that's the thing that's I think is what's going to keep something like that from really growing and reaching what the potential that you kind of say that it has. As somebody who's an outsider about this, like as somebody who's just been super casual, that's just what I think. And I don't know, like even Stranger Things, it's like it's getting to the end already. I think they have like one season left.
Old. Yeah, the kids
are getting old. They have like a season left, and I enjoy it. It's special for what it is. What I think they should do, instead of finding these like Star Wars generational type of stories, I really do think they should find another Stranger Things. Go with that for a little bit. Get something else. Get something original. I don't want to see the same franchise do something over like 3 decades again. Like, like I just don't think that's going to work in today's day and age. I think Star Wars is just a product of its time, and it's just continuing on now. But I do think that they need to be coming up with these original ideas in that way. Like if you did have a Netflix theme park, you could straight up do like an entire Bridgerton section with like teacup rides and like food and things like that. There's so many different avenues to go.
Knives Out House.
That one doesn't make any sense to me.
Murder mystery acting.
House?
No, like a murder mystery acting performance. Yeah. Insane. There's so many different things. Look, we're giving them free ideas right now. Don't steal it, guys. Run us that check.
I guarantee they're planning this before we are. I doubt they haven't come up with these ideas.
All the anime that they've invested in, they already got some stuff planned for all of that. I don't know. I mean, I think we've talked about this like 3 years ago, RB3, when we said that Netflix is like looking for their next big IP. This was years ago. Remember that? And I asked you like, what's the biggest thing on Netflix? And we both agreed it was Stranger Things. Yeah. And now we have Sabrina joining us on First Cut, and she's here to tell us that, hey, time's running out, bro. You got to milk Millie Bobby Brown for what she's worth. Well, they also have a lot of other great
not as big as Stranger Things.
Yeah, I mean,
not as big.
Well, they might be working on the next Stranger Things as we speak. We have no idea. Like, I feel like they have. Oh yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, RB3.
I was gonna say they didn't. I mean, they weren't trying to find a Stranger Things when they had Stranger Things, though. They stumbled upon it. You know what I mean? Like it was just a good show with a good concept that just popped and just blew up that people really wanted to see. And that's if they keep looking for things and they keep trying to like pick all these like studios and properties and let's do some Marvel TV shows. Let's do some let's do a Jurassic Park cartoon. Like they keep picking and choosing all these things. It's not going to really go that far. But if they keep investing in original properties and filmmakers and ideas, that's really where you could find the originality and innovation.
Exactly.
Well, to be fair to your point, Sabrina, Avatar was an original property. That was a thing.
I just don't think it has the longevity. I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing. You can obviously explore different avenues if they did find some way to do a spin-off. Like, I know. I didn't see it, so I can't say anything about it. Like, I can't speak on that. But also with something like Stranger Things, I don't really feel like there is. So that's why, like, they took a chance on 2 small, brand new filmmakers, like in the Duffer Brothers, who were up for it, didn't get it and then created Stranger Things instead. It's like everything happens for a reason. And it's kind of, it literally is their own take on this kind of story. And I feel like they should just be putting their trust into fresh, original ideas rather than recycling all these different old concepts, because that's what's going to get people's attention. And it works so easily. You drop it on Netflix, everybody talks about it on Twitter, there's all these hashtags. The amount of people who watch Bridgerton, even if it's for like 5 seconds where you never can trust their numbers, it is seriously insane for like a period piece, romance, whatever it is. I haven't even seen a second of it, but for what it is, insane numbers. You got Queen's Gambit, you got all these other different things.
My parents are on Queen's Gambit right now and they're obsessed.
I mean,
and I'm like, okay.
Some for everybody on Netflix, some for everybody.
Yeah, I guess that's my question is like, you're right. They kind of stumbled on Stranger Things as one. Number two, like, can I ask you though, what is the biggest thing to come out that isn't based on an IP, an existing IP? Because the MCU, like, we could do an entire documentary about how Iron Man was revitalized because of Jon Favreau's movie, and he was, because a lot of people didn't really read Iron Man comics. Not too many. Obviously, a lot of people might be like, there was a ton, but not like at the numbers we're at now, where it's making a $2 billion movie. Like, that's just not possible. But the idea that it's still based on an IP, and Jon Favreau was like, hey, this is basically Batman, but inside an iron suit who can fly. This is kind of cool. Let's make it a movie. It's just really tough, Sabrina, to make an original. It's tough, right? I mean, I don't know if you can think of
we did our own pitches, and we did it within like a day. I feel like there's so much talent out there to tap into. It is something that's tough, but it's available. It is out there. You just need to know where to look. You need to listen to voices, interesting stories that we maybe haven't gotten a chance to hear yet.
Are you saying like completely original, not based on any graphic novel, any anime, any comic?
Stranger Things is original, but they clearly got inspiration from it.
But that's
there's so many different ways to do it. Like, it doesn't have to be based off of a comic book. Even if it is, though, that's completely fine. I just think it's more special when it's this random phenomenon that completely hits out of nowhere the way Stranger Things did.
Because really, that's what Star Wars was, like, when it first came out. Like, people forget that too.
Yeah, but there hasn't been one since Star Wars.
And there won't ever be. There won't ever be.
Not at that level.
There haven't been like Star Wars level like things since Star Wars, but there have been surprise hits that like have popped off in their own ways. Like Zeno Hour in the chat says John Wick. Yeah, John Wick's a good original. That made a lot of money. Yeah, it's his own franchise.
And they're doing they have that spin-off that they talked about. I don't know what's up with it, but like the Continental, because that's the most important thing when it comes to these ideas. It's the world building around it. It's getting people interested in stuff like that. They talked about the Continental TV show is about the Continental and the world of all these different assassins coming in and that community. And it gets people interested and excited. So there's totally a way to come up with an original idea where you can explore stuff like with the world.
And Avatar too. People forget about James Cameron, JC. The one JC in Hollywood, you know what I mean? That's my guys. That's original too. Is that not original? All from the mind of James Cameron.
Yeah, but it's been since 2009, right? That came out.
Too long. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still,
a minute,
and it's still the #1 movie of all time. Shout out to James Cameron, JC.
Yeah, because they cheated. No.
Disney cheated
they
itself.
all cheat.
Yeah,
they all cheat.
Disney all cheat. Disney. Anyway, also y'all, by the way, make sure to hit that like button. Oh wait, I missed the donation from Blackhawk. It's playing right now. Okay, I'm gonna try and replay it. We also got we did have a donation that came in from Rudy. Okay, let me play Roddy's first because this one came in a second ago. Let's see.
Rodney Pino donated $5. What did you guys think about the Ray Fisher and Chris Terrio stories this week about Justice League and everything going on at WB?
Haven't read it. If I'm being honest, I've had a crazy day. I literally just got here. But I will read it. I'll tweet out, follow me on Twitter if you want to hear my opinions.
Yeah, let's read it out right now. Why don't we?
No, because it's like an actual interview article.
Netflix is doing that anime live action Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, I
Black Hawk.
think.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Live
that's
action,
another example.
I don't know what Cowboy Bebop is. Everybody's been telling me to watch it.
Yeah.
But you think that
It's
would
big.
work live action?
It's definitely one of the most adaptable live action animes. Like it's potential live action animes I've
Yeah.
ever seen. Yeah, that's a big one because it's about like futuristic gang war is essentially what my pitch is if I'm in the Netflix meeting room. It's these two gangs that were warring gangs, and then it's this one gang who kind of runs everything, and this guy who left the gang, and one of their leaders is trying to get him back. But his name is Spike, and he's kind of doing off his own thing in his own missions. And he's a bounty hunter. And like literally, it's a Star Wars. And it's like he's going off on different missions, doing different bounty hunts. And he lives on his ship, going from mission to mission. And then eventually he meets up with that gang leader who catches up to him. And they have this confrontation. It's like a Western, Japanese Star Wars anime type show. It's really freaking cool.
That's really interesting. So is Netflix doing a show or a movie with that
It's a show. It's John Chu. Is it John Chu or John Cho?
John Cho. I did
John
see
Cho.
that actually.
Daniela Pineda, who's the Latina girl from Jurassic World, is playing Faye, who's another bounty hunter who's like this crazy badass girl. And then Big Homie from Luke Cage is playing his partner. What's that big homie's name, bro? I forget his name. But he's there too. From Luke Cage. He played the
Luke
villain.
Cage.
in Luke
Mike
Cage season-
Coulter?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
No,
no.
Luke Cage season 2.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
Karate
don't think
Homie.
I ever got around to watching that season.
The cast looks good is what I'm trying to imply, I guess is what I'm saying. But it's one of those things where I'm curious. I'm so curious because I really do feel like, guys, I'm so like obsessed with anime right now. Like I've watched so many new anime shows. I just watched the last episode of My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia, that thing is huge, man. Jujutsu Kaisen is enormous. Attack on Titan was the biggest show these past 3-4 months that it came out in America. Like that was the biggest show in America. And I know you guys probably don't hear about it, but it literally had the highest ratings out of any show. There's a lot of potential from anime. The problem is it's your quote, Sabrina, exactly what you said. The gatekeeping, the preciousness, the weirdness around it. People are going to hate this anime
not going to allow it to,
because
like,
they're so
grow
precious
in that
about
way.
it. Yeah, because
Right.
they're just like, live action. How dare you? We'll burn you to the ground. And it's like, chill.
That's just why honestly, if I'm gonna be honest, that's why a lot of like fandoms just like haven't like vibed with me, just because I don't like that kind of stuff. Like I don't like the idea. If I support something, I would want it to continue to grow as long as it's quality. I'm not gonna pretend like something's quality. But also we have to think about stuff like the Old Guard. The Old Guard is something that they set up that could potentially be really, really interesting and really cool for Netflix as well.
Yeah.
Obviously with like Kiki Lane and people like that, they set up a sequel. They could potentially have that be something super interesting and successful, but I feel like they just didn't market it enough, or just didn't market it as much as they should have. Like, I didn't hear enough people talking about it, honestly, maybe for a week, but then it was kind of over. And also with like the binge model of Netflix, I think that kind of affects like the longevity of conversations as well, because people binge an entire season and talk about it a ton for like a month. And then like a year and a half later, 2 years later, whenever that show comes out again, it's the same thing, but it's always something new, which is why I don't like judge them for that reason. Cause it's like 1 week it's Stranger Things, next week it's this, next week it's Queen's Gambit, next week it's this. I just feel like they kind of have to have a bigger focus and kind of focus on the retention and the longevity of everything. Because I feel like that's why stuff like The Old Guard, people watched it and enjoyed it, but nobody really talks about it anymore for some reason, even though I thought it was one of the best action movies that came out in the last year.
Well, that's let's finish up on that point, because I definitely want to talk to you, RB3, about your Sam Raimi story that you wrote up, because I have no idea what this is about.
I don't know what this all over the internet. I don't know. It's all over my Twitter. I saw it on my Twitter.
That exact point, Sabrina, that you said, I think we're finding out now, and maybe a lot of people might be like, you're so wrong, but I don't think I am. The Disney Plus week-to-week model has been kicking ass. Like, the fact that they're releasing it oh, dude, you can't debate this. This is like, think about 7 days of 6 podcasts, 10 YouTube videos,
Seriously?
discourse on Reddit, discourse on fandom
this is a
forums,
fandom. These are
discourse on
fandoms. This is
Twitter.
always going to happen with a
But
Marvel
the
or
way
a
you
Star
binge it in
Wars.
10 hours, it's not the same.
Nothing,
It's just
nothing original is going to have that kind of coverage. Nothing original is going to have that kind of
It's
coverage.
not true.
Nah, there's
I
not.
guarantee if Netflix did week to week to certain shows, not all of them, but
Even
certain
look at
shows.
Euphoria. Even look at something like Euphoria. People talk about Euphoria week to week.
Okay, we talk about Euphoria. All right, but what about I May Destroy You? You say it every single time, Ace. Nobody talks about I May Destroy You. That aired week to week, and it doesn't do anything.
That's the same.
No, it's the same.
That's
thing.
not a major show. That's not a major show.
It's about how they invest behind it. Like you said, Sabrina, if they put money behind pushing the old guard, if they put money behind like pushing some of these things longer, they could choose to make that if they want to. They could choose to keep things extended. I don't know why they keep putting Black Rain.
No, because they're afraid of spoilers.
I don't know why they can't keep pushing Ma Rainey's Black Bottom on my Netflix feed for the past 6 months. But they won't do that for any other movie because they don't want to spoil it. And that's the problem. They don't want to spoil. They don't want to
people because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I haven't started Queen's Gambit yet. Don't spoil episode 4." Or I haven't started this yet. Don't spoil episode 3.
I mean, they do things week to week too, but it doesn't work. I mean, there's nothing Netflix can choose to do. I mean, listen. Here's my thing, right? Yes, week to week is cool. Week to week is television. That's just television. I think if you were to do Queen's Gambit week to week, it would have maybe about an extra 3 weeks of longevity, maybe. But then, like, it will just probably get kicked to the side. Yeah. It would literally just get kicked to the side in the same way that everything else was. We're talking about like the YouTube reactions, the podcast. You're not going to see that for anything else other than like this. Like HBO had to make a Lovecraft County podcast. That's how few people were talking about it. You know, they make their own podcast in house to get the conversation going. So
wrong.
When are they
it's not the same comparison.
Like that's how like fan engagement can only be measured by like the properties, by IP, like you're saying, by like the conversation that's driven, right? And of course, like Disney Plus has a lot of like those huge things. But if there was just a normal, regular, original movie they're trying to put out like a Alice in Wonderland like 3 or something like that, or Alice in Wonderland TV show week to week, it will flop. It'll get like no conversation. Nobody will talk about it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about Alice in Wonderland. I'm talking about the major IP that Netflix has, the big ones. I'm not talking about like Bridgerton or
they have in their mind.
Show.
In their
I'm talking about Stranger
I think Bridgerton.
Things.
I seriously think if something like Bridgerton or Emily in Paris was week to week, I think people would talk about it more. Emily in Paris ended their episodes on a specific note where I even was like, damn, I need to watch the next episode. And I didn't even like the show. So that's it. It's interesting because I do agree with both of you in specific ways. I agree the week to week keeps the conversation going for a while. But also the thing about Disney Plus is that right now they have like one major show at a time going week to week. Yeah, Netflix has too many shows to do that. It's going to have everything like overlapping. That's why it's kind of tough. And something exactly what RB3 said, something like a Queen's Gambit, it was shorter. I was able to binge it literally in 2 days, and I never really do anything like that. It was basically just one long movie. I did the same thing with Fleabag. If Fleabag was week to week, I still would have loved it, but the conversation around it, or actually maybe it was week to week. I binged it because I watched it after.
But you know what? That's the craziest thing. Like with Amazon, all of their stuff is week to week. I've never met a single person who watches anything from Amazon week to week besides The Boys. The one show that they have. And Invincible now too. Invincible now a little bit too.
That's the one.
I've never caught I've never seen anybody be like, oh, I can't wait to catch the new what's that devil show that they did with Michael Shannon at one point? I forget that one. Or some.
No, you're right. You're definitely right about that, but I feel like that's a different conversation. I'm talking about the juggernauts. I'm talking about heavy hitters. I'm not talking about like the devil show. But
Netflix has a heavy hitter every week. Netflix has a heavy hitter every week. Like,
no, they don't.
Dude, I mean, they put out a whole trailer dropping 77 titles coming out every week just in the movie sense.
And they're all buried. And how many people are watching them?
It's oversaturated.
They all get buried.
100%. That's the thing about Netflix. They are definitely oversaturating us with the amount of content that they're providing. And I think that's harmful to some of the stuff that they dropped, like The Old Guard, because everybody was still talking about like Extraction and other films that were dropping on VOD and other streaming services once The Old Guard came out. But yeah, they really, truly, I just can't see a week-to-week model with that because they just have way too much. It's almost like cable television. If it was like new episode of Emily Paris on Monday, new episode of Bridgerton on Tuesday, I don't know. It would be tough, but
I just feel like we've seen now how The Mandalorian exploded, how WandaVision exploded.
Yeah, I mean,
WandaVision.
Yeah,
how
Marvel,
many people even knew
Star
what that
Wars.
was? Though?
The Marvel
that's
and
what I'm
Star
saying.
Wars.
Like,
Marvel and Star Wars, the biggest thing ever. Like two of the biggest franchises we've ever had in the entire world.
No, but that's still showing you if you're it's still based on an IP that's a sci-fi story, right? So if I can get anyone to speculate about anything, like this was happening with Stranger Things, but it's just a little bit tougher because you have to search a little bit harder for it. But if you made Stranger Things week to week, there's no denying that people would be like, did you guys see a Demogorgon in the back? Did you guys notice the scientist who said this? Because it's supposed to be sci-fi, like crazy world building. That's what they're wanting you to invest in. And that's why I feel like it would work better. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But
again, I don't know.
We have to talk about Sam Raimi making Spider-Man 4.
Well, no. Well, before we get into that, I actually did want to say I did read the full like Ray Fisher article earlier this week myself. I don't know you don't really speak on that.
Today.
I'm talking about the Hollywood Reporter one.
Ray Fisher one.
The Ray Fisher.
There's a Ray Fisher and there's a Chris Terrio. You're right.
Okay, so I don't know about the Chris Terrio one, but do we want to at least discuss like the Ray Fisher one a little bit? Did you have a chance to see that a little bit?
I haven't read it. I'm going to read both. I made sure I was like, I'm going to read both, but I haven't. But if you want to tell me about it.
Well, it's just interesting because he talks about the ways that Joss Whedon and crew really were trying to enforce like these like really weird and ugly stereotypes on the Cyborg character. I mean, obviously not stereotypes per se, but characteristics and catchphrases that were a little bit weird. So in one part of this article, Fisher says he couldn't say, because obviously he has the whole booyah thing or whatever, Cyborg. Fisher says he doesn't see the word itself, and he didn't want to say it in the movie because he felt it was kind of goofy. That was the tone they were going for. And much of this article is exploring how the tone that him and Zack Snyder were kind of going for and dissecting is something that Whedon completely tossed out the window and kind of ignored Fisher about. So he begins it. This is near the beginning of the article. Fisher says he didn't see the word in itself as an issue, but he thought played differently in a live action film than in an animated series. And he thought black characters in pop culture with defining characteristics like Gary Coleman, which you're talking about Willis, to Dynamite. No one else in the film has a catchphrase, so it seems kind of weird for only the black character to have that. So he kept mentioning that issue to Jeff Jones, and their reply back is, "This is one of the most expensive movies Warner has ever made. What if the CEO of AT&T has a daughter or son, or that daughter and son wants Cyborg to say booyah in the movie, and we don't have that take? I could lose my job." That's what John Berg has said to Ray Fisher, like in response to him not wanting to say the catchphrase, right? So that's just okay. That's one thing, okay. And of course, like people and there's ribbing at him, like on set. Whedon stretched out his hands. It says here, Whedon stretched out his arms and said a line from Hamlet in a mocking tone. "Speak the speech I praise you as I pronounce to you." And then Ray Fisher said, "Joss, don't. I'm not in the mood." And it just led to like a negative energy. There's a bunch of negative energy on set, and I'm going to scroll down to another noticeable part that was like super, super interesting to me. Oh man, I think I skipped right over it. He talked about having lunch with Joss Whedon, and I'm sorry, but just off of where we are so far, what is your take on how the situation's gone? Because he goes into deep detail. If you want to check out the Hollywood Reporter article, Ray Fisher opens up about Joss Whedon, Justice League, and Warner Brothers. And the title of the article, he says, "I don't believe these people are fit to be in charge." It's really he goes into depth about every single issue that he's been talking about. But just off that first little thing, I mean, what do y'all think?
I think a filmmaker's job is not only, obviously this is a kind of different scenario because he came on midway through production, but I think a filmmaker's job is to make everybody on set feel comfortable with their characters and bring out that good performance. That's the whole point. Have everything run smoothly. For Joss to have uncomfortable moments with Ray Fisher, being inappropriate, having inappropriate dialogue and mannerisms and things like that, I just think that's unacceptable for somebody in the industry. You have to be held to a specific standard. You're representing a studio, you're representing a franchise, you're trying to portray these. You should have a good working relationship with the actors that you're working with. Whenever we see like footage behind the scenes and actors are screaming at each other and having behavior like that, I feel like they kind of need to be held accountable in a certain way. We talked about like the Tom Cruise of it all back in that time. I think that's also something worthy to talk about. But I wouldn't be surprised that Joss Whedon kind of has this like stereotypical like behavior and things like that because he wrote like first of all, we could see the difference in the two Justice League films with certain shots that show like Wonder Woman's
and they talk about that, yeah. And they talk about that in this article too. How other people are not happy with
Sabrina transported into the 1930s.
Her Tonka truck.
Her behind. Her
behind. They had a specific shot like that.
Exactly.
He showed her wagon, and it was inappropriate. And then you see the Zack Snyder version, and it's just a lot nicer, a lot better. And also, we know that Joss Whedon had written, like I've mentioned this before, but a super sexist, misogynistic script for Wonder Woman. Yeah. It's just like, who is letting this guy work on these types of characters? It's like, if somebody messes up that badly multiple times, they really just need to get themselves in check. Just because he had a successful show with Buffy and supposedly it's like great with like feminism and things like that, that doesn't give him a pass for the rest of his life. He created something special at one point early on in his career. It doesn't give you a right to have this type of behavior, especially against somebody like Ray Fisher, who is a new actor coming into this huge role for the first time. And this is something that could set his career on a specific trajectory. And if you're making him uncomfortable on set, he's not going to be giving a great performance. If you're messing with somebody in that way, it's just like you're messing up his entire career. And then also spinning press and spinning stories to kind of like center Ray Fisher as like the angry black man on set. Yeah, that's just messed up.
Warner Brothers might not be racist, but they sure are damn insensitive.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's what this is exactly what it goes into. And then there's more stuff too. They talk about the fact that the original script, which we see in the Snyder Cut, featured both of his parents, and if the idea of him having two brilliant genius parents is something we don't usually see in black movies and black characters represented. But then Joss's decision to kind of completely cut out the mother and, kind of minimalize the father, really didn't sit right with him. So it got to a point where Fisher says he barely started talking to the filmmaker because Whedon started cutting him off. Joss Whedon started cutting him off. At one point, Joss Whedon said, "It feels like I'm taking notes right now, and I don't take notes from anybody, not even Robert Downey Jr." And he's also made similar dismissive remarks to Gal Gadot and to Jason Momoa when questioning lines as well. That's something that's also said in this article. Apparently, when these complaints are made, when it reached one of the publicists that represent Jeff Johns, he said, "We can't make Joss mad," and yeah, I mean, just all of these things, like just really feeding into the culture, protecting Joss Whedon and not protecting the young actor. They're telling him, make the character more goofy, all these other things, and And they go into how and other decisions that Warner Brothers has made recently, especially with Jeff Johns at the helm, particularly with the new show Krypton on Sci-Fi, how they originally wanted to do like a non-traditional casting and making Superman's grandfather black to make, Jonathan Kent black. But according to this article, Jeff Johns, who was overseeing the project, said Superman cannot have a black grandfather. The creators also wanted to make one superhero character, Adam Strange, gay or bisexual, but sources say Johns vetoed the idea. And this isn't like some skanky like side reporting website. This is on the Hollywood Reporter we're talking about here. So they're airing out the clip on how filthy and nasty all of this stuff is behind the scenes. So I know this is so much to go into. There's this article is like so much. It's already going long.
Sam Raimi stories out the door.
Yeah, no, I mean,
we're out of time. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, I know this is craziness.
Spider-Man.
I actually didn't even put two and two together and kind of like think about that. I heard the guy that broke out from Bridgerton, who's not going to be in season 2. I heard he auditioned to play the grandfather in Krypton, and he's the one that they turned away, saying like, no, like Superman's grandfather can't be black. So this is another new young actor, literally just broke out from Bridgerton, expanding his career, being told he can't play a specific character when we're talking about literal otherworldly beings. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. And to not want to diversify like characters, like have like gay characters represent certain communities in your art, you shouldn't be making that art. If you have a problem with that, then you really shouldn't be making it. It is 2021. There is absolutely no excuse at this point. There wasn't an excuse then. There's definitely not one now. And then also to the we can't anger Joss Whedon thing. That's exactly what I said. He does one good thing like decades ago, and he's like untouchable now. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think my only takeaway, and this can be the button, I don't know if you guys are going to agree or not, but I really do feel like the more information comes out of this, the more I'm surprised that people take Warner Brothers' side, because there's a lot of people on social media who have been like, yeah, who cares? That's what studios have to do. This has been the way they've made movies this whole time. And I'm like, no, if you see an abusive culture and attitude, I don't care if it's been doing it for 100 years. You don't allow that on any set in any type of work environment. So I really do feel like it's just disappointing. It really is. It really is disappointing the way that he was treated and the way that everyone was treated on that set, and the way that everyone was treated by Joss Whedon, considering all the Buffy cast that's come out and been denying him and been chastising him for being the same way that he was on this set. So do we want to talk about the Sam Raimi story? RB3, you're muted.
Sorry, I just want to talk about it quickly. I mean,
okay, I don't care.
Why does nobody care for one? For two?
Because it's like, it's been what, like 20 years, fam? Like, let it go.
Listen, man, if they're gonna go through the trouble of getting Tobey out of bed to do a cameo in this film, that everybody's
exactly
talking about.
This is like they're literally making a spirit bomb trying to get Tobey.
Yeah, exactly. Come out.
It's gonna take like 20,000 planets just making a giant spirit bomb and like, give me your energy, because for a 30-second cameo. So I don't want to see him in another movie. I'm good, man. Yeah, I love those movies with all my heart. My favorite superhero movies, probably. And even I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
I literally. Oh, no.
Sorry, go. You go.
Sabrina's gonna be with me, right, Sabrina?
No, I just finished. I literally watched all 3 just the past few days.
Yeah.
I would not be mad if it is possible for them to do this. I would definitely not be mad about seeing it. 100%. Yeah. I would be down to see Tobey Maguire back as Spider-Man. Like, there was supposed to be a 4th film and it just didn't work out.
I know, yeah.
And I love it. Like an older grizzled like Spider-Man, not in a negative way, not like grizzled like the Batman that we got with Ben Affleck. It worked for that character. It wouldn't work for this one. But I think it'd be interesting. They set some stuff up. I know we just saw Mysterio in the recent film, but like, Brandon Hannah told me that Bruce Campbell was put in all 3 films to set up being Mysterio in the 4th one.
Yeah.
Like, that's so crazy because he's playing different characters in all of them. And I'm like, why does Bruce Campbell like just keep playing different characters?
But his role in that was supposed to be pretty small, though. Like, it was supposed to be like a 5-minute
still
Mysterio
sick,
scene. He wasn't the main
though.
villain.
It's still so cool how they had this plan and they had this thought process throughout the entire time to have this 4th film. It was something that it was being led up to. I would not be mad at seeing that, and I would not be mad at seeing Bruce Campbell as Mysterio too. Bring that in too.
I would want to see that. I would love to see that. I want to see. Listen, if they're going to do this whole multiverse thing anyway, just give me all of it. I want to see John Malkovich as Vulture. I want to see the Ebo. Listen, guys, I have a pitch.
This is going too far.
I have a pitch. Let's get emo Peter Parker.
This is 20 years.
Get the
20
emo
years
Peter
later.
Parker miniseries going. Come on, y'all. It just wasn't a day off. It was a whole week. Let's see the whole thing. Let's see what was really going on with Peter Parker.
Sometimes
at that time.
I don't
wanna see that
understand who I'm
miniseries.
working with. Yo.
That's what I really want to
First
see.
Cut crew has gone off the rails.
Let's get the money. Let's get that
Y'all are
money,
nuts,
Toby.
man.
Hey, listen. Also, too,
Toby's plenty money, bro. He's good.
Yeah, he got money.
Hey, listen.
Homie like gambles. He was in the freaking Aaron
Molly's
Sorkin
Game.
movie.
Oh yeah, Molly's Game. Oh yeah, he was a
Homie's low key nuts, bro.
Yeah, no, we don't like that. But I do just want to see. Listen, my childhood, my spidey senses are tingling. It's my favorite thing when I was a kid. Like, I just can't help but to get a little geeky when I hear at least some hope or some optimism. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, when they said Sam Raimi was coming back, I was like, oh, it's giving me a little hope. You know what I mean? This is giving me a little something. But
I'll take a Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi. We made like a 4-hour episode on Sam Raimi. Remember that?
Yeah, it was
with your
brilliant.
homie.
Yeah,
I love Sam
Camilo.
Raimi.
Camilo.
Yeah, Camilo. But I'm good. This is 20 years too late. Release the Sam Raimi cut
Extended
Spider-Man
version.
4.
That's what I want. Yeah.
With that being said, guys, that was our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate each and every one of you guys in the chat for sticking around. Yeah.
Literally pizza time.
Yeah,
Spider-Man
exactly.
3. I got pizza right here.
Pizza
Time. You got pizza. I got
Yeah.
pizza too downstairs. Let's go.
Yo, pizza time is peak cinema. Either way, guys, Sabrina, where can everyone find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SabrinaXMonica. Also on Twitter at Sabrina.
Is Sabrina anxiously waiting for Amazing Spider-Man 3 in 20 years with Andrew Garfield's dad bod? It'll
Yeah, that'd
be
be great.
there.
Come on.
awesome.
Oh my God, 100%. Put Andrew Garfield in any movie, I'll be happy. I want to see his Peter Parker again. I thought he was so cool.
Give me that gut, bro.
Yeah, I want to see like full gut.
Yeah.
I want to see Andrew Garfield dad bod. The trailer for Mainstream, Gia Coppola's newest film with Andrew Garfield, looks so damn annoying, but I am like here for it because it's like covering like YouTube vlog type of like culture. It's covering people like that. Oh, it looks like it's going to be a blast. I'm really excited to see Andrew Garfield in another weird role. But yeah, if he was going to take this mantle again, I'm down. But you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SabrinaXMonica. Also on Twitter at SabrinaOnFilm. You can find me watching Andrew Garfield movies, just finishing up Spider-Man 3, and eating some pizza.
There you go. RB3, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DirectorRB3. And you can find me, again, I'm going to keep plugging it because I just really dug it being on the Rotten Tomatoes podcast last week, talking Joker. It was a really good time. So be sure to check that out.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Squad Leader Race. Obviously, follow us here at First Cut for more movie coverage and discussions. We are finally getting to Oscar season, guys, so get ready for that Oscar coverage coming up. Be tuned in for that. Either way, guys, for the First Cut crew, we're peacing out. Peace.
It's Britney, bitch.